Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of our
We're
GAI
not live, David.
Insights.
It still says scheduled, not live.
No, no, we're live, Adam. So, so we'll continue with the introduction. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's briefing. We've got plenty of news to share with you, and we've got our three analysts here who will talk you through it. No Ankash today, so I will be double dutying slides and hosting, and hopefully we'll still make for a smooth experience for you. And we will jump in a moment. We've got some news about Visa. Oh, now, of course, this is giving me a headache with the sharing. Okay, here we go. We got some news about Visa. We've got Microsoft doing a top secret LLM for the CIA, which is pretty cool. Couple pieces of news about OpenAI and the way that they're handling content. And we will open up as soon as I can get this slide up. I'm just going to share my whole window. And we will do that. And we will get off of this ad. And we will start off with Microsoft. As I mentioned, top secret generative AI model that they have built for the US government. Adam, what do you think about this?
Look, it's interesting. I mean, they purpose-built a model that can be run completely offline, right? And on a private network. So, additionally, it won't use any of the data for training, which is all well and good. But they, as you can expect, haven't given too many details, and I considered it optional news.
Anybody have any difference of opinion or commentary?
I thought about rating it important because of the fact that it's a pretty good proof point if the the spy agencies are starting to use this stuff. It can make a lot of sense.
What did you think, Luda?
Yeah, I agree with John, but I would still rate it optional. It's something kind of to be expected. They use the existing technology. It's not yet operational. They say at the end that now they need to really test it and see how it works. So from that perspective, it's we'll probably hear more about its implementation and its usage later on. So for now, I think it's optional for me.
All right, we'll go with interesting but optional. Next, we have Visa using generative AI to fight fraud. Did we lose John?
I'm still here. Still here, I think.
Okay. I think this one's you, John.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought that was optional. It's interesting how this is augmenting their traditional fraud detection with generative AI. And they're clearly seeing more attacks because of it, and the variety of attacks. But I think nothing really unexpected, and obviously the fraud part of their business is so vital. They're pretty sophisticated already. So I would say optional, but interesting. Gives a fair amount of detail in terms of different, threat vectors and how they're dealing with
them. I actually reverse the previous discussion. I would rate it important because fraud is of a critical value for many people. Obviously banking specifically, but in general, many industries, and they're taking it up a notch. And at the end, there are several value parameters. They invested $10 billion in implementing AI, machine learning, generative AI, and they have now quantified that it's 40 billion of attacks they were able to block. So this is quite valuable use case, I think, and also pointed at a very important area of fraud. So I would rate it important.
How about you, Adam?
I see the case Luda makes. I was leaning towards optional. It looks like I just didn't feel like I got enough understanding of exactly what they've done. It looks like they took a bunch of data they already had historically and basically trained a model on some of the data they already had. I mean, seen Saudi Aramco do that. For me, it just felt like another company that's doing what we expect a lot of enterprises should start doing with AI, which is taking their own information and making their own model. Maybe there just wasn't enough meat on the bones for me to really feel like I got enough value out of it. So I was leaving it in the optional camp. I agree, it's very important, and it's going to save them a lot of money. But that 10 billion they've invested, I think that's all told across machine learning as well since 2019.
Correct.
So it's a very big number, but it's not what they've invested in building this model for sure.
Yeah.
So I was leaning towards optional for those reasons.
Yeah, so I agree, that wasn't really put out, the detail wasn't in there, but they talked about the speed of and the innovation that attackers use in penetrating the various barriers that Visa and other vendors put up there. So they would, my imagination was in there saying, okay, they are now at the speed and actually ahead of the attackers, and that's what they're proud of. So that's kind of how I read the article.
Maybe it was that it was a bit of a hard read for me, and it was more of an education about anti-fraud and the attack surface than it was about actually generative AI and how it's being used.
Okay.
Like it was hard for me to get much that I felt as an AI leader I could really use from the article. So I wouldn't want them to invest their time.
Yeah. Okay. No, I see.
Yeah. I'm
What do
gonna.
you think, David? Yeah.
It's funny because I had the same impression that you just had, and it's summing up actually different points that you guys have made. I thought it was important for something that you said, Adam, which maybe we're just getting like jaded over time here, but they did use their own data to train the model, and it's providing a lot of value, and we know that that is something that's going to provide value and competitive advantage for companies. So for that reason, I wanted to rate it important. The actual article itself, though, I agree, is not really written that well. It's definitely a lot of summarization about this certain kinds of attacks. So I think I'm going to rate it important, but in our notes, I'm going to say you can kind of skim it. Like, here's the main takeaway, but which the takeaway is important.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. We will move on then to our next piece, which, sorry, I've read everything. So now I'm at the bottom of the of all the pages. So this I thought was real interesting. This is an article about how in academia, they're kind of having to change the way that software engineering or coding specifically is taught, given the coding assistants are becoming kind of the norm at this point. So, Luda, what did you think about this one?
I think it's super interesting. It's a trend, and I think we should rate it important. This is, again, taking it a step further from academia. They certainly need to change the way coding is taught, because at the low level, AI can now subsidize. And so over time, what will be happening to the software industry is there will be more the need for designers. When you put together a piece of complicated software, first you put the schematic, you put all the interfaces, you know where the data is going, you have a data schematic, you have test plans, you have the plans of how it will go operational. It's a design, it's a complicated design scheme, right? And so what I feel is happening right now with the AI assistants, that there will be more of the designers that are needed. When you feed to AI Copilot, essentially the design, and say, you just write it, right? And then you need the skills, in that programmer to test it, to evaluate it. And it's a next tier of skills in the software industry. So essentially what's happening, AI is going at the bottom and helping with the maintenance, with the original writing, and then the skills are being elevated. That's why the academia has to teach different skills, and it will be a shift in the whole software industry. So important for me.
All right, Adam, what did you think?
Yeah, I actually had a lengthy chat with GPT about this because I was trying to extrapolate to things beyond coding, right? I agree with Luda, specifically for coding, it's very important to understand. But some of the examples that came up were, for example, in the conclusion I came to was that this is really highlighting how not just in coding, but in a lot of educational frameworks, the higher level skills are going to be required earlier on for the students, because it's going to enable them to really get a lot of those difficult things that they normally have to learn augmented by the artificial intelligence. So for example, and in engineering and design, they're going to have to learn how to optimize designs and maximize efficiency and minimize costs, which is a more advanced concept that they normally don't learn so early on. Or in healthcare and education, some of the clinical thinking skills and diagnostic reasoning tools aren't used in the early education, but a lot of these skills are going to be available to the early learners in these fields. So I think it is painting a picture of what's going to happen to education more broadly. And for that reason, I thought it was a good example and agree that it's important to emphasize.
I see you nodding your head, John.
Yeah, I'd weigh in on important. It's critical in terms of how they're building the talent and the infrastructure.
Yeah, totally agree. And good to see that the academia is like kind of catching up early, or at least these few professors. Sometimes we see a lag there, right, in trying to catch up with what the real world skills are that need to be taught. So very good. All right, we will move on to the next article, which I have to pull up a different screen because I have my Wall Street Journal subscription on something different name. So, oh no, now PC Mag is trying to make me sign up too. Here we go. So our next article, Apple allegedly building its own chips. This article made me chuckle. Actually, I read the Wall Street Journal version on my phone because I have the subscription on my phone, and everything is, they don't know if they're actually developing their own chip, but they might be, and very speculative. To me, not very surprising. But what do we think about this one? I think, sorry, now I can't see who's assigned to this.
John. And we don't see the article yet, David.
Oh, you can't see it?
No.
Oh, darn. Okay. We'll just.
Yeah, but it's definitely optional. Once again, the Apple PR department has scored a victory. God love them. But this is a total nothing burger.
Yeah.
All right. Then I'm not even going to bother to try to pull it up on the screen.
Yeah.
We'll just go right to the next one. Nothing burger. And we will move on to, these super cool shoes from Nike. I was loving looking at these. So Nike is developing a model to help them design personalized footwear for their athletes, which, by the way, is not allowed in a lot of sports. So these would kind of just be for them to use in their personal lives. What did we think about this one, Adam?
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. It's another example of a company taking the data that they have and training a model on it. But it's not so much that it's speculative as it's just felt like it was, I guess, almost like their PR department is being speculative. They're sort of imagining the art of the possible, more so than I really felt like there was a lot actually happening already. It just didn't quite do it for me. I thought it was optional. There, some, I don't know. Maybe it's just the writing also, but yeah, it just didn't didn't really. Maybe someone else said something.
Yeah, I agree with optional. However, it's interesting. Nike will find a way to make it essentially open to the public, but customized to to athletes, I think. So think about the massive trend that GenAI is enabling because of the data availability here for the shoes, right? So if they can do mass to one, so essentially use this data to the shoe for you, Adam, and for you, John, specifically, right? And that was the dream of the shoe industry, and it's getting closer to reality. So it's a fascinating trend. This article doesn't say it yet, but it's in that direction that they're taking it. So I find it fascinating, but I agree as an article, it's interesting but optional.
All right, I tend to agree, and I do love these designs though. All right, so we will go with optional on this one, and we will jump into our first OpenAI story. This first one is about how they're building a new tool to let content creators opt out of having their works included in models. I believe we're on Luda for this one.
Yeah, I think it's optional. This is an aspiration than yet a product announcement. So they want to do it. It's a complicated task. So I feel that let's wait for them to do it. And other people there are a couple of startups trying to do that as well. It's complicated, but worth the effort. But optional as news for me.
All right. Anybody else have a different?
Go ahead, John.
I thought we're bundling this with the next one too, in terms of then paying for new content. I think they're both optional. Yeah, this is just a PR war. I think, as we decided, just the beginning is not deployed, and yeah, I kind of feel with these guys. It's like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to come in your kitchen and steal your microwave. I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about allowing you to tell me I can't steal your microwave. It's just kind of nutty. Anyway.
Yeah, so we'll lump in this. I think we did end up kind of splitting it up. But
David, let me read one line from that article here.
Yeah.
But in an effort to placate critics and defend itself against future lawsuits, OpenAI has taken steps to meet content creators in the middle. Right? It's kind of like a defensive measure to say, hey, look, we're going to do something about this.
Yeah, every time I read these, it just feels so empty. It's like, now that we've built the product, thank you for doing that. And now we'll let you just decide what you want to do with anything forward, because now we don't need it. And, we've kind of gotten the synthetic data down, so here you go. So, okay, we'll go optional on that one. And then, as John mentioned, the last one also on OpenAI. So, we know they've struck a bunch of deals lately with Axios and others. And now they've struck a deal with Dotdash Meredith, which is the publisher of People, Better Homes and Gardens, Food and Wine, and several other publications. And it also includes co-designing tools together. So how about this? Your last one, John, is already on the optional camp. Is anybody feel any differently?
No, we had a slew of those, right, as news, and they're really not news. They're on the push to get the deal struck with a lot of people, a lot of partners for content.
All right, so we will go optional on this last one. And let me just update our sheet here and bring it over and see. We went Microsoft. We did end up on optional on that one, right? Okay.
We did do important for one of them on Visa. I think we did.
Yeah, I have the other. I have all the other ones. Just that one I missed. I'm doing a lot of work here where I'm not totally awake, but I mean, we're getting through it. We're getting through it. Okay, summary slide. We've got Microsoft, as we just mentioned, optional, the two importance in a row here of the visa usage for fraud. We've got the catch up of academia on how to teach coding as also important. And then a lot of optional today, 5 optionals, but that kind of makes up for yesterday. We assigned a lot of reading yesterday. So how did it go yesterday, John? I saw lots of posts on LinkedIn about the HBS conference, which I unfortunately wasn't able to view, and I hope I get to see the recordings. Any interesting learnings you want to share? Oh, and he's frozen. Darn it. All right. We'll have to get the download from him tomorrow. It looked like it was super interesting. A lot of big names there, like Ethan Malik and others. So we'll get a download from John on that tomorrow. And I believe John also spoke. So we'll leave you hanging on that one. It gives you a good reason to join us tomorrow. We hope to see you then. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.